Finally, it's here. You could say that Ranger fans have been waiting since the original Sentai movie back in 2014 for this, and honestly, it's better than I thought it would be. When this episode leaked this past summer, the general fan reaction was that it was good, but not what people were hoping for. A lot of people even said they preferred Dimensions in Danger over this, but personally, I really liked this episode. And it's kind of the culmination of not just the past two episodes, but the entire second half of the season. So let's dive in. So we open with Keeper arriving and warning the Rangers of a vision he saw of a Ranger team falling, and Devin getting hit by a meteorite. It is a little convenient to me that Keeper couldn't tell what team of Rangers was being destroyed. I mean, if this vision was the Morphin Grid directly warning Keeper, why wouldn't it make the vision as clear as possible? And speaking of the Morphin Grid, it's kinda weird that Keeper is flaunting his connection to the Morphin Grid, despite us never seeing him use it before. It's like when someone you know says they're friends with someone, when really they meant they've had like 2 half conversations with them. But anyway, then Devin thinks it's all just hullabaloo and goes off to his gaming tournament. I think it does feel a little bit like Devin's character is regressing in this episode because it feels like he should be more responsible at this stage in the show. In fact, from a writing perspective, there's no reason for Keeper to even show up to warn the Rangers, besides him staying there to talk to Devin about the Morphin Grid, and for Devin to be able to go, "Oh, Keeper, I guess you were right. Sorry about that," at the end of the episode. Most of the reason seems more like it's to create the illusion of there being a lesson to be learned, but honestly I can kind of look past this because I'm kind of a sucker for Morphin Grid lore and for prophetic visions. So Devin leaves and Grid Battle Force gets a message from the Dino Charge dimension saying they're under attack. And then they go to help. I have to admit, when I first watched this, I was kind of expecting for Goldar Maximus to just be some new bad guy, practically a monster of the week, but he really packs a punch. I don't think anyone's ever gotten 4 Energems, but he did. I mean, I'm sure the original plan was for them to get all 6, but then because Riley and Shelby's actors couldn't come, they had to be in suit the whole time. Then Devin gets hit by the meteorite just as Keeper said he would. And then we get this scene where Devin realizes the meteorite was sent by the Morphin Grid and puts it in the Morphin Grid itself, and that's what summons Jason. When this episode premiered, there was some backlash over this scene where people were saying that it didn't make any sense and wasn't explained, but I really like it. Throughout Beast Morphers, we're kind of shown the scientific side of the Morphin Grid with the Morph X and its applications. But from the beginning, Power Rangers has been about the combination of science and magic. In this episode, we get to see the more mystical side of the Morphin Grid with Keeper's premonition and it sending the meteorite. And this scene is sort of like a scene you'd see in a fantasy movie. If this were a pure fantasy show, it'd be like someone taking off a ring and putting it on the finger of a statue, and then the statue turns into an owl that flies into the sky and lands on the arm of a wizard as it floats down from the heavens, or something. I don't really watch fantasy, but that's what this is supposed to be. It shows the mystical side really well, and it's great. Obviously, it's also really cool to see Jason back since he doesn't come back often. The last time he showed up was in Forever Red. Jason and Devin go to the Dino Dimension where they help out the other Rangers and start their plan to stop Evox and his forces from creating the Chimera Zord. This all leads up to the big moment where we see Jason summon the other Mighty Morphin Rangers and the Dino Thunder Rangers, and they all fight together. It's pretty great, though obviously none of the rest of the MMPR cast and none of the Dino Thunder cast returned, so they had to use voice doubles and don't demorph. It's a bit of a shame, but it's understandable. I kinda wish we got a little bit of an explanation behind at least which MMPR Rangers are under the helmets though. Billy has to be blue, but black could be Zach or Adam, and yellow could be Trini or Aisha. Pink technically has to be Kimberly because they're using the Dino powers and Kat has only used the Ninja powers, but technically since these are obviously not the original powers, really Kat could use them all the same. Heck, these don't even have to technically be the original Rangers. They could be their kids or something that Jason is training. Anyway, the dubbing is fine, not really as noticeable as Making Bad because Ranger voices are just normal voices, and there's not as much of a specific style to replicate as with the villains. I want to even say the guy who voices Connor voiced Andros in Making Bad. One thing I don't really like about this episode is that there's no explanation behind the fact that all 3 Dino Ranger teams are back. You could headcanon that the Morphin Grid summoned the MMPR because Goldar was back, but there's no explanation for the Dino Thunder Rangers. In the Sentai, Snide's counterpart was a revived version of Zeltrax's counterpart, which was why the Aber Rangers were there, but because Snide isn't Zeltrax Maximus, there's no real reason behind it. But overall, the fighting scene was good, and seeing all 3 Megazords and the Beast X King Zord fighting the Chimera Zord, which looks pretty awesome by the way, was really cool. I also like that at the end, Jason used the device when Dimension's in danger to teleport back to the main dimension, so it's less of a one-off thing. Anyway, overall this was a really good episode, and a really good team-up with just a few little flaws. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.